Thank you very much, Neddy. Tito Benny, happy Father's Day. Neddy, thank you for supporting our advocacy, our shared advocacy. Thank you to the Rustan's family, Donnie, Marites, and the whole family for supporting this advocacy, which I've been working on for decades, no? 30, 40 years. Chairman June De Leon of the National Commission on Culture and Arts, Ambassador Lagdameo, Chief Justice Panganiban, and all our friends from media, Marge Enriquez, Milet Manangkil, all our distinguished guests and members of the Diplomatic Corps. Today's the beginning of days and perhaps weeks of Rustan's celebration of Philippine indigenous culture. I was happy to be a tour guide to many of our friends, both from media and to Neddy herself and the Rustan's executives by explaining what the gadang is. The first ladies you see here are the gadangs. The gadangs are the indigenous people, one of more than 100 indigenous peoples group in the Philippines, and they're found in Paraceles Mountain Province, in the province of Nueva Vizcaya, and perhaps also in Isabela. Isabela is in Region 2, Mountain Province is in the Cordillera, and Vizcaya is from Region 2 as well. And the gadangs weave not only fabric, but also the beads, as you will see how intricately they hand bead and hand weave the textiles in their beadwork. In the middle, you would see the weavers of Basay, Samar. Samar, as you know, is in Region 8. It's nearby Tacloban, which was devastated by Typhoon Haiyan in 2013, and Basay as well. But their livelihood is through making all the beautiful chinelas, bags, and mats made out of a weed called tiko, T-I-K-O-G. So see how all these mountain weeds and grasses we see can actually be transformed into something so beautiful. Because our very own, our indigenous culture is really something that will inspire us and make us so proud to be Filipinos. What you would see on the other end, I sound like a tourist guide of Rustan's, pwede na ba? Would be the Bagobo weavers. The Bagobos are another very colorful indigenous peoples group found in the region of our newly elected president, President Duterte. The Bagobos are from the Dayaw region, that's Region 11. And you can see how colorful and intricate they do both their textiles and their beadwork as well. And those are just 3 of different SLTs, or schools of living tradition. These are not organized schools as we would see in our DepEd schools, but these are actually schools where you would find them on site, whether they are beadwork, they are natural dye making, or textiles, or any kind of arts and crafts. We would call them the schools of living tradition that both the National Commission on Culture, headed by Chair De Leon, and myself as a chairman of the Committee on Finance, and even long before I became the chair of the Committee on Finance, have supported it. And soon, we will institutionalize the SLTs because we will create the Institute of Living Traditions so that all the SLTs, hundreds of them, right, Chair June, will be preserved because we are losing many of our SLTs. One of the SLTs, which I showed Chief Justice Panganiban, is the lakub. You'll find it there if someone could bring me the lakub. The lakub is made out of bamboo, and it used to be found in a town in Lanao del Sur. But it was a dying craft. But what Chair June and the NCCA, with my support, did was to found the lakub maker and actually helped them and gave them funds so that they could do it again. So lakub making, it is in which town, Chair June? In Tugaya. In Tugaya, Lanao del Sur. So imagine if the NCCA, through our joint efforts, did not promote this and preserve this craft, how would we know what the lakub is? And it's beautiful. It's made out of bamboo, but each and every piece is painted. So this is just one of the many SLTs which are being preserved, promoted by the NCCA. And so what we will do is we will create this Institute of Living Traditions so that the next generations will have these weaves, these beads, these arts and crafts. We are very grateful to Rustans that you had taken notice of the work that we do together. For a commercial enterprise that brings our indigenous people here, the Gadangs, the Magobos, and perhaps, hopefully, more often, and many of them, because I've also done this together with the National Museum and with the NCCA, and we do it every weekend. And you would see, we have lecture series, we bring the Mangyans, we bring the Tibolis, we bring the Tausugs, so different weavers all over the country to the National Museum. And you would see people coming in on Sundays from the provinces, and they would, because it's free entrance, and they would appreciate the work that we do. My home province of Antique, the weavers from Bugasong and Dayaw also have exhibited there. And so, what am I talking about? These are just some of the efforts that we've done to preserve our dying culture. Because if we don't become stewards of nature and culture, who else will? So we are grateful to the National Commission on Culture and Arts, Chairman Jun De Leon, who has been my partner and who has shared my relentless efforts to preserve indigenous culture. We thank Rustans for recognizing this advocacy and for giving us the venue and the full support for this. And thank you to all of you, especially the media. You're going to write about it and let this resound or let this have a resonance in the country and in the world so that we could provide livelihood for our IPs and in our rural areas as well. And I think this is really what rural development is all about, which is what the President has said, the incoming President said. He wants to share this development and this livelihood projects to a grassroots level. What better way to provide livelihood than to give support to our schools of living tradition of our indigenous people, and at the same time making it a very viable economic enterprise. I've said too much, but only because I'm always inspired when I'm around people who share our advocacy on indigenous culture. Thank you very much, Nelly and Tito Benny and Donnie, for supporting our advocacy.